morning all. This is the Thursday the 21st of April 2022 Bulletin. Risk calc indicates risk on at the big picture and at the 24-hour change. They're adding to that bias. If they add to that bias, then we'll continue on risk. We'll continue to go higher on the S&P and the Dow and things like that. VIX, it looks like it's going to be crossed below 20. So that's interesting. I didn't think that would probably happen, but it looks like it might. Tesla did really well. It rallied like crazy, which is probably going to help lift sentiment when we go to New York Open. The Nasdaq's possibly going to do quite well. And you know, Elon Musk was on the conference call, so if it did dip, he would have just stepped in and said something, and then, you know, the investors would have come in, and, you know, so it was like a pretty obvious thing that it was going to do quite well because he was on the conference call. It's a lot to do with psychology and sentiment, so we'll have to see how we do at the New York Open. We should see CAD strength and Kiwi weakness. We can see the Kiwi is quite dark, CAD is quite green, so look for Kiwi CAD potentially, see how that's like the darkest colour. Euro is strengthening on the technicals, so there's Euro been strong on the M15, 30, H1, and the dollar is weakest on H4, hourly, M30 and M15. So because the Euro is doing quite well, it's going to impact the Dixie, because the Dixie is heavily Euro weighted. So we might be seeing a reversal of fortunes on the dollar. So we have to remember the big picture. We're, you know, quite strong. Actually, CAD's taken over on the week, and Oz is taken over. Right, so maybe keep an eye on that dollar bubble. I think that's the best thing to do today, just to see what that's doing. There's the dollar bubble here. So we're actually in the mixed quadrant, but they're going long. If they continue to go long, that bubble might come up, and if it gravitates over here, then it's going to be a strong sell. Gold is a strong sell. Euro is actually strong. It's the strongest. On the average daily and weekly average chart, CAD and Aussie are in the strong buy. Okay, so the strength here, weakness here, and weakness in the Swiss as well. FXCM clients since last Thursday, oil was the greatest buy and Kiwi USD is the greatest sell. So be careful with that. It might not be an easy trade because we might see some dollar weakness, and we might see some Kiwi weakness, so that might be a tricky one. It would be like weak versus weak, potentially, so be careful, and sentimentally it's not so good. No, the 5 and the 10, it's superseded the 10, the 5 superseded the 10, so that wouldn't be that great. We want that a bit lower, and we want it below that ideally. However, if the VIX is being crossed, that's reassuring, so maybe just an eye on VIX. This is probably going to sort itself out over time. It's probably going to cause like a ripple, like a domino, where they just like gradually fall. And do note that this is going to impact your dollar yen. If this falls, these fall, dollar yen could fall as well, because they correlate very well with the 10-year yield. 5-year could come down, to be honest with you. So that's a little bit of a concern, but where we close this week will be interesting. I'm sure it will sort itself out. There's S&P sentiment, buy, they shorted it, and then they shorted it again. We nearly crossed into sell territory, but they didn't, and they decided to sell it, which is pretty good if you're long, which you should be anyway. You shouldn't really be shorting indices, especially US indices, and especially if the VIX gets crushed as well. If we go below 20, this is going to probably fly. Gold, it chopped, so there's your sell. Because they went long, they shorted it, so it was a buy, and then now they're going long, so it's a sell. So you'd want to keep an eye on this swing high here, and that's where the stops are going to be, which we can see on the spreadsheet because I've just done the stop loss clusters on the sheet. Dixie, keep an eye on this horizontal line. It coincides with 120 and 132 is important as well. And you can zoom in on this on the Bulletin as well if you wanted to. But we're creating a bearish triangle here, which is actually at 5.0. So you can see how it's projecting some weakness as well. We've broken that pitchfork. SLC update, largest mover was dollar CAD. Our short signal nailed that move yesterday. Really happy with that. It netted us 100 pips. So, you know, dollar CAD was a technical sell because, you know, that chart that I showed you, that I made a video on the dollar CAD yesterday in the technical channel, and it satisfied the move on the sentiment. You know, it moved 12% towards sell. It was because of dollar CAD, our signal count was so high. The largest SLC is Euro USD above. Location is 109.50, size 3.92. So there's a lot of liquidity here, so I'd imagine that could get probed, but whether or not that's going to be your final destination, it's hard to say, but that's likely because the liquidity is being congregated at that level. So 109.50 is quite easy to remember. Dynamically, Aussie is strongest and gold is weakest, so you know, there's a bit of fluctuation between the Euro and Oz. So, you know, Oz is actually in a strong buy section, so that's something to bear in mind. We had a really excellent day yesterday. We got 223 pips because of the dollar CAD, to be honest with you. It did actually go over 100 pips, but, you know, I waited maybe a little bit too long before, you know, we closed it. But, you know, the total was great. And just to recap, the signals are generated if the currency pair moves +4 or -4%, and the bubbles need to confirm the move, and that's really important. So this is the low level, and this is the high level. So you can think of that being like a turtle, and then this is like the eagle, where you've got a very high level view of the market looking at your bubble, because the bubble is your currency basket. The currency is just the currency. So if we get the two to agree and confirm the move, then that's going to be very powerful. So hopefully that's clear. So we're looking at the currency pair itself, and we're looking at its bubble versus bubble, so basket versus basket. So it's doubly powerful than your typical signal. And I don't know if anyone does this, as far as I know. So we're done for the week, but we record them today, but they will not count towards the total. So yeah, we had some overnight, which I'll record, but they might be favourable or they might not. If they are, I won't add them. If they're not, I won't add them. They just simply won't count towards the total. So that's how we did for the week, which is pretty cool. And we'll see how we do next week. So I think this is probably the sweet spot. This is like the you know, the secret sauce is to look at your currency pair and the bubble in the basket. We weren't looking at the currency pair before. We were just looking at the basket. So that's a quick bulletin. Apologies for that noise at the end. That was my cat again. And I'll probably do a video on some technicals now, because I did spot something interesting of Euro Yen, and I'd be a little bit wary if you were short the Euro Yen, because it's doing something quite bullish. So yeah, I'll speak to you later. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.